Thanks for tuning in at Brackeys. Hello everyone and welcome to Make a Game number 20. In this video we're going to be porting over our current project to the all-new Unity 5. I'm sorry, but it's quite a long time since I've made a new video in this series, but I've been moving and so things have been quite busy. But let's get right into it. First off, if you don't have Unity 5 already, visit unity3d.com, click Get Unity and just download the free personal edition. Everything that was before Pro with the engine is now free. So we have a bunch new features here along with some newly added stuff. Also, if you have any questions throughout this video, as always, visit the Brackeys forum. Cool. So I promised that this is going to be the last Unity 5 porting video, but I just wanted to show you how this is done for the Make a Game project so that everyone is able to follow along. So when you've downloaded Unity 5, just double click it to open it up, and it's going to prompt you to open up a project. Let's click Open Other. Let's navigate to wherever you have your project stored. And before you actually open up your project and convert it over, I recommend that you find it in your Finder. And I'm going to find mine here. And then just copy it over on the desktop, just so you have a duplicate should anything with the process go wrong. Unity 5 is still very new, and so some conversion problems may occur. So once that is done, find the project that you want to convert over, hit Select Folder, now click Upgrade, and Unity is going to re-import the assets to the new Unity 5 standards. Also, what it will do is it will update the scripts that you've made so that they will be configured to the new API. There's been a few API changes, meaning changes in the way that we do programming in Unity. And it actually has an automatic converter for those to just take out the old bits and insert the new syntax, so to say. So we'll just say that we've made a backup and we would like it to do so. You can, of course, say that you don't want that and then just change it on your own should this not work. But for a simple game like ours, it's pretty much ensured to work. So once it does that, it's going to open up a fresh scene, and you can see that a fresh scene in the new Unity looks quite different from the old one. And if we load up, let's say, our main menu, some things might have changed a bit, such as the Skybox not working. But what I want to do is I want to convert all of the materials to the cool new Unity standard shader, set up a better lighting system, and then of course fix this Skybox issue. That's most of what we're going to be doing today. So let's start out by fixing the Skybox, because that's horrible to look at. So let's find our main camera. Let's find the Skybox here. Let's double click it, and you will see that it locates it in our project and selects it. And we now have some more things that we can change with a 6-sided Skybox. But we actually want to leave all these options. What we do want to do is to click Fix Now. And the reason that this error occurs is that this texture contains alpha, but it's not RGBM. So it means it's incompatible with what is called HDR rendering. And I'm not going to go too much into what that actually means. Just know that HDR is awesome, and that if you can, most likely you want to use HDR rendering. It's basically a technique that will make sure that you have lots of detail both in the dark parts and bright parts of your image. Without HDR, you pretty much have to choose. So let's now hit Fix Now for all of these, and you can see the problem, ta-da, disappears. So with that done, you can of course do it on all of your other Skyboxes if you want to use them also. But with that done, what we can do is we can create a new scene. So let's save this one. Let's do Control N. Let's create a new scene. Let's do Control Shift S to save this scene. Let's call this main menu ported or modified or whatever. And this is going to be our new main menu scene. And then I want to open up our old main menu. I want to select all of the stuff in here and copy it over. We could change all of the different parameters individually, but that would mean going over quite a few things. And if you want to know how the new Unity 5 lighting system really works, I suggest you check out the new Unity 5 primer video that I've done. I think it's called Get Up to Speed with Unity 5. And it's of course on the channel. So if you want to really know what is new in Unity 5, I suggest you visit that video, because it's simply too much to cover here. I mean, it's an hour long. But I will show you how we can easily do this. So if we select all of our objects, if we then exclude our sun, because we want the default sun from the other scene, then press Ctrl C to copy it. Then we move over to our new scene, main menu ported, press, find our main camera here and delete that one, and then press Ctrl V. Then you can see that now everything has, now the new lighting system takes over here. So that's really cool, and we can just save that. And you can leave the old main menu, but I'm just gonna delete it and open up the new one. So you can see that already quite a few things have changed, but we can make this look much nicer. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to select our directional light and have a look at what's changed in here. First off, you will notice that it has a bit of a color here. It's tinted a bit yellow, which gives it this kind of a warm and nice feel. It also defaults to soft shadows, which was before a Pro feature, but is now included in Unity Personal Edition. So that's really awesome, and you can see how that looks down here. We're just gonna have it set to quality settings. Of course, if you are exporting to a mobile game, you will need to use lower settings, and so it's fine that they just carry over from our quality settings in here. Currently, I've set it quite high. Cool. So let's go back here. Where was I? Let's see the directional light here. So that's pretty much all you need to know about that. You can see that there are some new parameters here, such as the bounce intensity. This basically controls how much bounce light is going to be applied from our sun, but that's not really something we need to mess around with yet, because we don't have the shaders applied. So let's go ahead and fix the shaders. So first thing we want to do here is we want to find our ball. Here we want to open up the mesh renderer, go under materials and select the ball wood, select it in the project panel, and you can see that it's currently using the legacy shader called bump diffuse. This is pretty outdated, so let's change this to the standard shader. You can see what this does. It's quite a bit too much here, but it gives it quite a lot of smoothness, some nice rim lighting and a specular. It almost looks like wet wood as is. So what we need to do here is basically nothing, because the diffuse map carries over to the albedo, and the normal map also carries over to the normal map slot. But we can maybe bump down the smoothness a bit, because that's just a bit too much. So let's do something like 0.25 and maybe even less. That's up to you. I do like a bit of rim lighting here. I think it gives a pretty cool look. So what we can also do is we can select our platform, and we can do the same to that. I do, however, want to select the platform under the standard, under the prefabs, so that we can change it for all of them. You can also just select this one and hit apply, which we're going to do. Just make sure it really affects all of them. Also, we don't have a prefab for a ball. That's funny. Yeah, we do. It's right here. But for some reason, there's no apply button here. Maybe I already hit apply. We only changed something on the material, of course, and then it's going to affect all other instances. That's me being silly. Just ignore that. We'll continue. Cool. So find the ground brick legacy shader, and again, change this to the standard shader. You can see what that does. I'm just going to locate the material in the project panel, so we can select that instead of the cube and thus get rid of these colliders. And you can see that this already looks a lot better. What we can do is maybe bump down the smoothness a bit on this too. You can have a look at what it looks like if it was spherical down here. So something like 0.2. Actually, let's give it a little more. Let's do 0.25. And you can also control the amount of a normal map, the amount that we want our normal map to affect our texture. So currently it's set to 1. I think this could maybe be bumped up to 2. So we really get this cool looking 3-dimensional brick. Unfortunately, we don't have any height map or occlusion map or anything like that, or anything to control the specularity either, but I think this already looks a lot better than it did before. So let's continue here. I think that was basically all we want to do with these two shaders at least. And you can just see how powerful the new standard shader is. You're going to use this for 99.9% of all your shader work because it simply does so much. And it's also, I assure you, very well optimized. So that's really cool. And then now let's save this. What we also want to do is maybe change back our Skybox. You can of course keep this one if you think it looks cool. I sure do. But you will notice that if we in our scene view, it shows this Skybox, but in our game view, it shows another one. And the reason for this is that on our main camera, we currently have one Skybox selected, but we have another one as default. And we can see this if we go under Window, Lighting, and this is a really, really important panel. In here, we first off set the default Skybox and the sun. We can just drag in our directional light here as the sun. And maybe we also want to rename this as _sun or just sun. That's up to you. I like _sun. And I'm going to put it at the top with music. And one thing we can also do is going to select the sun, go to the inspector and mark it as static. We can do the same with our platform here, then hit apply. And this means that whenever we change some lighting, it will be baked onto the platform. Because the really cool thing about the new Unity lighting system, called Enlighten, is that it will automatically know if something is static to bake as much lighting as it can onto that object. So it will figure out the best way to get realistic lighting without it ever breaking because something has moved. So that's really cool. But let's go back into our lighting panel. And in here, we can of course change the Skybox. You will, however, notice that if we do that, the lighting becomes very, very sharp. So you can keep this one and then just overlay the Skybox on the camera, which could look pretty good. Or you can change it to this one and then maybe just bring down the ambient intensity, bring down the reflection intensity, and you can see now it starts looking a bit better. That's of course up to you what you want to do with that. But the cool takeaway here is that as the ambient source of the lighting, we no longer just need to select a color, but can actually get from a whole Skybox, which gets a just much more realistic looking result. So that's something you can do. I might actually go ahead and change it back to the default one. I almost like that one better for this. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good actually. So let's keep that, maybe bring down the reflection intensity just a bit. And then we can go back to our main camera and we can enable the overlay Skybox there. So this is how it's going to look, and I like that look very much. Cool. So the next thing we will do is update our level, and we can now rename this to main menu, just main menu, not ported, and we can head into level 1. So as you can see in here, it doesn't look as good. It's kind of dark right now, and the shaders are of course not really playing well together with the old lighting setup. So what we want to do is again create a new scene. Let's save this as level 1 ported. Let's head into level 1 and let's select everything except the sun. And let's just press Control C to copy this, head into level 1, port it, and press Control V to paste it all in. Cool, now let's rename our directional light to _sun just to keep up with the rest of our project. It's good to be consistent. And just drag the GM and sun to the top of the hierarchy. Then you can of course fiddle with the sun's settings if you want to change some of that. I'm just going to leave it as is for now at least. But you can see there's quite a few things that doesn't look really nice as is right now. So first off, I want to disable this coin because it's interfering with our lighting, and we want to see just how it looks without any lighting or secondary lighting applied. Then I want to take the main camera here and drag it up a bit and rotate it down a bit, just so it looks a bit more like when we are playing. Also, I want to delete the that was the old camera. I want to delete the old camera there and then drag up the new camera a bit to give it kind of more the angle that it actually has when we hit play. As you can see now, that looks a lot better so it doesn't jump. Awesome. And now you can see that the shaders are already looking much better here. The cube, however, is very bright, and the reason why is it's using the old legacy shader. So we can just quickly change that. Let's hit under the materials folder, and we actually have an unnamed one which I'm going to delete here. We also have this cube 1 default. You can also just delete that. Let's then make a new material, and let's just call this, let's just call this, let's call this default. Let's drag it onto the cube, and let's just bump down the albedo a bit here. We can maybe also make it metallic if you wish, or bump down or up the smoothness. It's completely up to you. I'm just going to make it non-metallic and then a bit gray here, just so it isn't as overblown and crazy like it was before. I'm actually going to bump up the smoothness a bit so you can see what that looks like on a sphere down here. Cool. So now that that is taking up our the attention of the eye, let's adjust some of the lighting settings. Again, as the skybox, I'm going to leave the default skybox. I think that gives a cool look. Then maybe bring down the ambient intensity just a bit, and maybe also the reflection just a tiny tad. Actually, it's mostly the reflection. I like the ambient intensity, so let's just leave it up there. And this is, of course, a lot of fiddling, so you can, of course, spend more time on it than I am. I just want to get along with the tutorial. And then for the coin, if we enable this, let's first off disable the coin light, and let's change the material here because that looks really boring as is. So let's go under the glowing material. Let's, instead of the legacy shader, actually use the standard shader. Let's change the albedo here to white. Actually, I'm going to make it a bit darker than white, so a very light gray. Then I'm going to bump up the metallicness, so we get this cool looking shine here. And the smoothness about halfway, so we get this really shiny looking thing. And then to actually color this bright orange, I'm going to use the emission. And I'm not actually going to use the emission to emit light. I'm just going to use it to color our surface in a way that looks like it's emitting light. So if we set this to, let's say, 1, and then instead of this white here, change it to an orange, you can see kind of what that does. So we get this bright looking yellow coin, but it also has this nice shine to it. So we can just play around with that, maybe darken it a bit, maybe make it a bit more reddish. And you can see what that does. I actually think this looks very cool. And when we then turn back on the coin light and maybe even color this more orange like this, you can see that it really looks like an orange coin that is actually emitting light, or almost a gold coin here. So I think that looks a lot better. We have this shiny feel, and the color of the light is more tinted towards the actually color of the surface. I do, however, want to bump down the intensity a bit, maybe set it to 1 instead. That looks better. Wait for it to bake on the ground objects here. And yeah, I'm actually quite satisfied with that. So that's awesome. I do, however, want to select the coin light and make sure that the baking is set to real time, because this baking effect does look really nice. We get some nice bounce lighting and all that. But if we currently hit play and pick up the coin, you can see that the light doesn't disappear. So in order to take care of this, instead of mixed, we want to set this to real time only, because we know that the coin is going to disappear at some point. Now let's hit apply and maybe make a coin more over here, because I think it's a bit too boring only having one in the scene. So let's go under the prefabs and drag the coin over there. Let's drag this up a bit. Something like that looks super cool. And now let's hit play and enjoy the new cool looking Make a Game lighting and shaders. So that's basically how to port the game over to Unity 5. This was pretty easy because everything we had to change was basically in the rendering. Everything else was pretty much behaving as we hoped it would. The script importer or API changer there worked just as it should, and we have no audio issues and all that, so that's perfect. And now that we have that out of the way, we can hopefully focus on improving this game. So I think in the next video, or I hope in the next video, that we can make a cool model or import a cool model and make it work in game for our enemies, so that doesn't look like a box anymore. That would be really cool, and I hope that's ready for the next video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.